He was tiny little man and you're big strong boy. He's so successful, he makes other people mentally unwell and they have to take a sick day. And that's how you know you're so successful and such a good leader. And suggestion lines, just like what Russia thinks about the borders of the countries near them. Like, I'll just be sitting there eating breakfast and I'll just feel my knees being licked, which I don't know what your definition of perfect is, but mine isn't exercise. Mwah, it's so juicy. Everyone has secrets that normal teenagers should definitely not have. Why, hello there. Welcome to June. It's actually the 22nd of June, so I'm starting this vlog a little bit late, but don't you worry, I will catch you up to what has been happening with the help of not my memory but photos on my phone, because that is just how we do. I don't have a good memory. And this month has been genuinely quite a lot. I am trying to read the books that I got from the TB Avatar. If you missed it, I'll link it down below. I've gotten to 2 of them. I'm still in the middle of one and also read an extra one, so I'll walk you through those as well. It's getting there. So the beginning of June was a very weird period. Logan caught COVID at the end of May. We missed out on a wedding and I have banished him into a little playroom so that I can play the game of, did I catch it? Did I not? Are my normal symptoms from chronic pain and the plethora of lovely symptoms that come with that, is that from COVID now, or is this just a regular symptom? And appears, unless I fought it off to not come up in the test, that it was just regular symptoms, which is odd because I had a lot of body aches, but that's just the roulette you play with chronic illnesses. But Logan was totally fine, by the way. He was very, very lucky and had very few symptoms. And I was playing a little housekeeper person, trying to cook and bring the food and clean and take care of the cats and yeah, just play home. And once the boy was released from said prison, the goblin and I have gone to Lithuania to visit my family because we've not been in a long time pre-pandemic, so it was very overdue and I was too bad. And I did miss the sight of the pretty clouds. I do like the space, so the closer I am to better. To my absolute shock and horror, I actually did get to enjoy some nice weather, which normally I really dislike the heat, but maybe because we were in nature for most of it and we visited this very beautiful lake, and I could submerge myself in water if all other devices failed me. I was actually enjoying it, which, you know, character altering event, so much confusion, a lot to explore within myself, I guess. I did also meet our new family dog. Well, I say new, it's already been a year or 2, but again, I've not seen my family in a very long time. He is adorable. He is the most floofiest of the floofs. He has a weird need, urge, habit, hobby, let's say hobby, of first of all stealing your socks the moment you put them down, or slippers, and then running away and making a spectacle out of it because he knows you're gonna chase him and give him treats in exchange of the goods, but also licking your feet and knees. Like, I'll just be sitting there eating breakfast and I'll just feel my knees being licked, which is an interesting sensation, let's say, but he's adorable. I love him with every fiber of my being already. He has my whole heart. So the reason why I chose these dates is because there was a family reunion from my dad's side, and it has been a very active time. I'm surprised I did fairly well until the 3rd day, where I did die for a bit and just lay down on the ground. No one could find me. Apparently they were looking for me. I did tell them that I took the meds and they're gonna make me a zombie and I have to lay down. But I was laying down at a different part, next to the lake, and people were like, where the hell is she? I was one with the nature. I was one with the floor. But I think the highlight for that was this ginormous bonfire, and of course me and Logan had to go and make the girl with the fire meme in the spirit of it. Logan's frog thirst has been quenched a little bit, I guess, until the next time. He was truly a bog ponderer extraordinaire in there. So we got back, we only had 1 day in between until I'd gone to the trip for my birthday that I planned in last November. So at this point you're thinking, gee, this is very active for you, and you're right, it is. Extremely also uncommon, After one day we were sitting in a train to go to Manchester, where I had tickets to Hans Zimmer live, who is the composer for like Interstellar and Inception, are like the most known for me. For others is, you know, like Lion King and Dark Knight and like Wonder Woman, like a lot of movies basically. And that was really great. The trip there, not so much. The trains got somewhat semi-cancelled. We had to do a change, and what was supposed to be just a little bit over 3 hours journey turned into like over 5. So that was not ideal. Then continued to sit for another like 3.5 of the concert. But despite that, and the fact that I couldn't feel my butt, that's a lie. I could feel it too much. It was actually very beautiful. I don't know how much I can actually insert here because of the copyright stuff, but I'll try and insert a little clip here for obviously my most anticipated piece, Interstellar. Confirmed that I actually didn't cry throughout the whole concert, apart from this bit, where I had the most bizarre experience because I was still trying like to film but also be in the moment, so I just pointed the camera and let it do its thing. And then I just sat there and listened to it, and without like making any type of breathing movements, like I just had like these weird, I was like a statue that was crying, like the tears were just like streaming. It was an experience. I loved it. Unfortunately, this is where things get a little bit sadder, but it's all okay. It's just life and it's how it be. But the next day, which is the day before my birthday, we were walking and I got a message from my family saying that my aunt unfortunately passed away that night. And I will admit the rest of the day was a bit of a blur because I've just spoken to her a couple of days ago. I've spoken on Patreon a little bit. I don't think I've ever mentioned it here, but she had cancer, and it wasn't that long since the diagnosis. It was just 8 months. We were still very much like within the plan. So whilst you can be like super surprised that someone passed away if they had cancer, but it was still a shock because it wasn't expected now, basically. Is what I'm gonna leave it at. Cue all sorts of existential slight crisis. I think I'm handling it pretty well considering. She was extremely close to my family. She was like a second mother, an extremely kind and generous person, and just the best. And I am so incredibly sad about the whole thing, and trying to process the whole thing, very kind of worried for my family, sad for my family, but ultimately glad she didn't have to suffer for too long if the treatments were not working. This was a sudden event, and I know all of us would prefer that over a prolonged torture thing. So in that sense, I'm glad, but I'm very, very sad and still kind of going through the motion of the stages of grief, so we love that. But, you know, it's life. So immediately after I got the message, we went into this beautiful library in Manchester, but I will say I remember zero of it, like none of it. I was definitely just in shock, and I was just like autopiloting, and if not for the photos, I don't really remember what happened, but I do have a bunch of photos to show you, or maybe videos. Maybe I took videos? Oh my god. I did take videos. So yeah, we went and it was stunning. I really want to go again at some point, but all I remember is just being in shock at that point. I did get a little lizard friend. I feel like I've bonded to it. Of all the things to see in Manchester, we clearly decided that Exotic Pet Store is the place to be. And not regretting it. And yeah, and then the next day we went back home, and the train back was much, much better, not delayed, and also had an AC on, so overall, good stuff. So before I move on, actually, I did receive a little parcel from one of you guys for my birthday, which was totally not needed, but very much appreciated. So let me go and get that. These are from Tiffany, from my wish list that I've completely abandoned. I'm sorry, I do not keep up properly with it, but thank you so much for all of the well wishes. I appreciate you so much in general, but thank you for the gifts. And for the books, we have If You Still Recognize Me, a queer coming of age story that I've heard great things about. Then we also have The Dawn of, I want to say Yangcheng, but I'm afraid of mispronouncing it, which is, I think, the third book, right? Or is this like a whole new thing for The Last Airbender? I need to figure that out, but regardless, we'll be reading. Then we have Blue Flag, which is I'm assuming like a cozy manga thing. It's honestly been so long since I've added it into, because again, I don't keep up with the wish list, which is totally my bad. But it was someone's recommendation, I remember that much. But it's supposed to be a good manga. And I think it's like a slice of life type of book from the creators of How I Met Your Mother, which is intriguing. So thank you so much for these books. It's very, very, very kind and sweet. Now for the books, and this is where it's gonna get a little bit annoying for those who don't like negative talk, because I have negative talk for you. So the first thing that I technically finished, actually, because I started reading Alone with You in the ether, and then in between that I read Zoom 100, which is, I keep saying Zoom, and then I realized when I was actually putting it on Goodreads that it's Zom. So who was gonna tell me? No one. In that video, you let me make a fool of myself. I mean, that's fair. It's not your responsibility, but I will keep you accountable for that and take none for myself. Thank you very much. Zom 100 Volume 2. I got this when we visited Forbidden Planet for a little bit there. It was fine. It wasn't as fun as the first one. Maybe the novelty is wearing off. I don't know if just this one didn't really have that much of a story to it. We're obviously just continuing it. I do talk about it more in the manga video, so I will kindly again just direct you there. Yeah, it's just like alright. I probably would give it like 3 stars. I don't even know if I gave any stars to it. I think I've updated my pile, so maybe I did, but a very strong 4-star, and then the second one just got like a 3. It wasn't like bad, but it didn't really add like too much to it. I did read it quickly and it was like fun, so we do contain that kind of like humorous sense to it. But then we had Alone with You in the ether, and you know what my beef is with the whole month so far? Is that I feel like I've just been marketed as a fool. I just feel bamboozled. You know, like it's not a nice feeling. I'm gonna read the synopsis to you again of this, just because there simply isn't a plot for me to summarize it to you otherwise. But 2 people meet in the Art Institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, he is a doctoral student. He manages his destructive thoughts with compulsive calculations about time travel. So I think the fact, and I'm not saying that I went into this book expecting like a time travel thing. I know it's not a sci-fi. I know it's a contemporary book. However, the gall, the audacity to taunt this term for me in the first, 3 sentences? Like, you cannot blame me for having some sort of expectation of some type of conversation, some type of chatter, theorizing and discussions of time travel, or what it means, or how would we feel, or what would we do, like something. I feel like I didn't really get that. We do kind of flaunt it a little bit, but just, yeah, okay. I know, before you come at me, I know that was not the point of the book. Like, I'm fully aware, and nor did I expect it to be. But I still don't appreciate that it sounds like it'll be more important to the book than I felt like it was, alright? She is a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. By the end of the story, these things will still be there, but this is not a story about endings. However, I wish it was. I have so many conflicting feelings on this, because this is a book filled with flaws and characters that are not meant to be role models, which is something I'm always so advocating for. I don't like this idea that our books have to be clean and tidy and bulletproof. Don't get me twisted. I'm not saying go and write books that portray or include themes that are discriminatory without addressing them in any way, shape, or form. But I'm saying that we shouldn't hold characters in the books to a different standard that we would even hold a real person, whereas we know everyone has flaws. However, we seem to not allow those flaws in book characters even a little bit, or if they do it, we immediately dislike them. Obviously, all of these things that I'm saying have limits, all right? I love myself either an unreliable or a deeply flawed character. And I think one way that I would say that a book done that so beautifully was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which was like one of my favorite books last year. Was it did I read it this year? I can't tell time. Anyway, one of my favorite books just in general. I really love that. I think that we explored the flaws of being human and just like miscommunicating, how miscommunication actually happens in life, and just being not perfect, but not straight up like evil or super dumb, right? In a beautiful way. And I think things that are kind of shitty are addressed in a way that I feel like is believable and would happen in real life through friends or people around you. Here, however, I feel like we were just messy. And then there's part of me who's like, yes, we love that. We love it when it's not all tidy and neat and everyone's like perfect, tick, 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 tick on all of the boxes that you want the character to be, because oh no, what if a 15-year-old will read it and then they will act like this character? First of all, I feel like we just never give enough credit to people to think for themselves. And then second of all, like it's just like very little faith in people for their own mind. And then second of all, it's not like this is a guide to existing, you know, like not all books, some books, and I do think that those standards should be, they are more for YA. There's that part of me who wants the mess, who wants the chaos, who wants the flaws, who wants life with all of its imperfections and things that will make me angry, things that will make me hate the character, things that will make me just like emote, right? And then there's another part of me who is like, okay, but there is a line. And this is where I kind of stand, where I think like the book like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow did that so well, where I feel like this really didn't. It just left everything in a mess. And again, I'm not saying, and I actually don't like it when everything is like every little detail is corrected, let's say, for the lack of a better word. But I just think there were some decisions in this book that were too far from the line, maybe. And I think the fact that the author themselves felt the need to clarify it in the author note, for the fact that they said, you know, in no way am I glorifying the need to like, or a decision. Sorry, if I didn't read the author's note, that wouldn't be my impression. Like, it was just like, okay. This is where you can see me battling myself, because yes, again, I just think that decisions are obviously like very subjective to the person, and they act in ways like, I didn't find this surprising that this character did what they do and made decisions that they did. I do find it surprising that the psychotherapist that they were going to went along with it, and that we didn't have more of a discussion about this part. Again, it wasn't an integral part, but I do think it was important enough. One of the aspects that really made me like... Because I feel like if you have a professional in the scene, you should be talking about it. If you only have the character that's chaos, sure, but there were opportunities to just include some sentences. And that there were behaviors that I don't think that we necessarily are supposed to root for this couple. I would not go as far to call this book a romance. Personally, I don't think that this was about that. However, I don't know if that was what it was intended to be like. I think it was, but at the same time, without having much to root for, it was very hard to continue with this book, because I did like it at the beginning a lot. I did find the prose quite nice as well, even though it is quite like simple at times, but I sometimes like that it makes it quite accessible to do when you're like, I was reading this a lot when I was on the train, and you know, there's like distractions around me, but that didn't take away from the book. However, I don't know. The same point circulating throughout, and I feel like we just got the message in that mud of other chaos, and it didn't change throughout. I feel like we didn't evolve into anything. I feel like the people here were not good for each other, and that's fine, but I feel like they were presented as such in some ways. But then again, I'm like, oh, maybe this is all about the flaws, and maybe this is about things that don't necessarily fit neatly, like normally in the books we have that. And I like that, but I just feel like this felt like a draft before an editor comes in and says, okay, do these bits different, so we have a bit more meaning to them. We have a little bit more of a contrast to them. It felt like a very self-indulgent book to write. I felt like it was very personal in a sense to the author maybe, and I was just there reading their diary. I'm not saying this is about them, by the way, just like reading their work that I was not supposed to. Anyway, all that to say, very conflicting feelings. I gave it 3 stars. I understood where this was going. I really liked the premise. That was, you know, two strangers meet and agree to have 6 conversations and really get attracted to each other through that, getting to know one another. Very, very flawed characters. Love that. The execution, anything after the 50% of the book, super downhill for me. Very muddled, very vague, very unfinished. Some messages straight up a choice. So yeah, 3 stars, which is a damn shame because you know this was my 5-star prediction. I also really like Atlas 6 and I will be continuing with that series. So it's a little shame, but it's okay. We move. But what we move to is less than okay, because I think it's like shaping up to properly be my least favorite book of the whole year, maybe life. I had to move because I was getting too frustrated. I don't know why that helps, but listen here. Deception, lies, false promises, lies. If you like this book, good for you. Maybe skip until like the next clip, like, and I change, right? And I'm really sorry because I will be ripping into this, I think. And please know that I absolutely went into this really expecting to like it because I have people in my life that love it. And good for them. Really happy for them. But I can't. I can't, and it's pain. Alright, so the book is The Hating Game. And the hating that we're doing is purely from my end. There's no hating in here. It's just lust. They kiss. Sorry, the door is banging, but that's the only banging that actually is happening because I'll set a scene to you. There's 2 people who work together and don't like one another. The biggest case of show instead of tell, because we're told that these people don't get along. We are told that the whole company knows about their bickering and arguing. Oh my god, that is so frustrating. What we see is them kissing in like the first 30 pages. Right, before that we get a sex dream, which I will allow, okay? Like, dreams are sneaky little shits and whatever happens, like, you know, the brains do brain stuff. But it's just like there's no hate. The only, like, the hating game is just in her head. Like, it's so clear from like page 2 that both of them are into one another and it's just literally lust. It's like a little bit of like it's just like a tease. It's just I take it back. There's no teasing. There's no slow burn. There's no burn. It's just straightforward. We like each other, but we're just not gonna tell each other for a little bit and be all toxic around one another. Girls like, I'm gonna talk shit about you behind your back, and guys like, I'm gonna tell you to kiss other guys before you can kiss me. We are victim to the girl is so small and the guy is so big trope. And I understand that this must work for like wonders for a lot of people because it's probably, you know, a trope for a reason. I get it. But the height just never did anything. Talking about the height and the difference in height and just how small something is or just how big something is just never did it for me. And I wouldn't be so hot and bothered about it if it wasn't literally in every single chapter multiple times We, like, dear God forbid that you forget how tiny this girl is, how small and how short and how just tiny and not like other girls, because there was literally a clip that I saved in the audio. I imagine him dating other girls, and I bet they're tall and blonde, and what was it? 'Cause
I think about what kind of girls he probably dates. Tall, cool blondes. I feel it in my tiny, undersized brunette bones.
in my tiny, undersized brunette bones. Who says it? Who thinks like that? Oh, I'm sorry. This actually just confirms that she isn't like other girls, because if I think, and I am a girl, that who thinks like that, sorry, this is just clearly proving her point though, actually, so I take it back. And you know what else is so edgy about this girl is that she wears really cool makeup. Beautiful descriptions like slit wrist red. I'm not saying that this is something like super taboo and can never be like included, but this is a quirky type of book. This is not like your gothic like shock type of horror or anything like that would fit. Like that's it gave me whiplash when I heard that, because I was like, that just in this book why is that a choice? Like, unless I'm misunderstanding some sort of phrase that means something else, that was just a very interesting choice. Throughout the book, which I'm halfway through, by the way, I'm a little bit more now than halfway through, but I'm like not finished yet. So throughout the book, we have this beautiful theme of just like straight up hating on nice guys, because being a nice guy is such a bad thing to be. And the guy is like, oh, but you're just into nice guys. I'm not a nice guy, so you can't be with me because I'm not a nice guy like someone else is like a nice guy. It is very telling that you think behavior that could be classed as being nice is such a lame thing to do and display. So let's just sit with that for a second. I'm not, don't get me wrong, like I don't need like romance books to be like all proper and good and whatever. I'm just talking about stuff that didn't work for me, alright? I'm not saying that this should be different in a book. I'm just saying that it ain't for me. At least not in this way. I like a guy in a book that is a little bit like quote unquote not the best. I think it's fun and it's, you know, not real, so it's fun. It was just so stupid to me because it was just like, it was based on very little. And when she was like sick at one point, she was saying, oh, she has such a privilege to actually see him smile, because actually that is so rare and such a privilege. And I'm like, ooh, hot, a guy that never smiles. Love that, would be instantly attracted to. And I like a broody guy, but I just feel like it's so, if you feel like it's an actual privilege to be like a witness to such a moment, I feel like that is just a bit far. And at one point, she's like, oh, I would kiss him, but he's too far away. They're like standing together and it's like, but it's too far away. And then they say something about kissing, and then she's like, don't make me like climb up there or something of the like. And then in the same chapter, we mention, which we continue mentioning throughout the book, how perfectly they fit together. And I'm like, you were literally saying that you need like mountain climbing gear to just kiss him, and then also say that you perfectly fit together. In order to climb him, you have to like climb Mount Everest, but somehow you fit perfectly together. I don't know what your definition of perfect is, but mine isn't exercise. Another beautiful tidbit of Lucy's inner monologue was, isn't being wanted for your body a man's dream? And she said that unironically. She also said unironically, less I. So we already like set the tone, because this was in the very beginning, and I literally put it back because I was like, no way. But it happened. It's fine. It's so minor. A lot of these things are minor, but when put together, they just, you know? Imagine being a human being yourself and thinking another human being would have their lifelong aspiration and dream to be wanted solely for your body. I feel like there's so much to unpack there. And I just feel like that's just so stupid. Like, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to not be mean, but like, it's just so dumb. Like, how can you have a thought like that? I don't know. Like, would you just like, would not be your dream to be wanted for your body? And genuinely, if the roles were reversed and the amount of uncomfortable level of objectifying that Lucy does to whatever the guy's name is. Joshua? Something pretentious like that. If it were reversed, I don't think this would have been like as cute, right? Because it's just like, I'm pretty sure at one point he even like doesn't like it and asks her to stop, and she just doesn't. There's a lot of bits that like the boundaries are like, you know, like they're just like suggestion lines, just like what Russia thinks about the borders of the countries near them. The nicknames in general I have a very, very hard time getting behind with, and Shortcake is just not at the top of the list of the ones that I would like to tolerate on my free time. I'm starting to play bitter games here all by myself around this book. And I know it must be hard to believe, but I really thought I really came in here excited, okay? I really wanted to work with this book, but understand that people love it, and I'm genuinely very glad that they do. I think it's just like such a large collection of things that just simply did not work for me, that it's very irritating for me. Like, I find this book so irritating and so cringy and so stupid. Books, like, I like some romance books a lot. Like, again, the Brown Sister books, I love them. They're one of my favorite books, so don't come at me, okay? So instead of slow burn, we get very much insta-love that's already kind of pre-established, which takes the fun out of it for me for a little bit. I just feel super bamboozled by this book in general. A lot of these things by themselves would be such a minor thing, but because I think it's just like a lot of things that I quite don't jive with. Not to mention the casual, and again, I think in romance it is like they try to have this haha comedic little comments, but sometimes the ones here especially just miss the mark so much. I just don't think that making fun of people's appearances, especially in parts that they cannot change, like, believe it or not, she was saying, I'm not gonna even get into, like, you know, the fat comments and stuff and being like, oh, I wish he was just like a fat little goblin. But then it was preceded with like, with the cliff palette. I can't remember what else it was, like a, you know, like a chipped tooth and yeah, like a fat little goblin. And I'm just like, choices. Interesting choices. Love that. It makes me very comfortable. Haha, how humorous. That's good humor. I'm, again, more than halfway through, and plot-wise I couldn't tell you what's actually happening here. Nothing. Quite a high amount of smushing, I would say. But I was reading and then listening to some of those bits, and honestly, I might have as well been reading like a dishwasher manual, and actually would have been more turned on because some cleaning is happening, and that's nice for after. This was just like, I'm so disconnected from them. I don't feel any chemistry between them. I just don't get it. I feel like I don't get it. I didn't feel it with the nice guy either, so it's not like, it's just nothing. I'm hungry and there's nothing to eat. So all in all, I would say that I'm not particularly enjoying this book. I don't know why I keep reading. I think at this point, at one, like, I was reading it yesterday and continuing with it in the hopes that it does get better. Today I continue from the hate, I think. I'm hate reading this book now. And you know what's wild? You know how I said they're in a competition for like a role because they work in publishing together? They're like fully like living at each other's places at this point, I feel. And she still says that, oh, if I lose this position to him, I have to find another job. I'm like, why? Tell me like 3 good reasons, not Lucy reasons, 3 good reasons genuinely why you would. Like, you guys are smushing, unless that's not allowed. But like, I feel like they're not concerned about that. It's all about like the power dynamic and how she wants to like be above him, but not the other way around. And I wish I meant it literally, but anyway. I don't know, I feel like this came out like so harsh, but at the same time, it do be driving me crazy, and it just not in a way that I was expecting it. So I hope the people who love this book skipped it or didn't take it personally, because I don't have it in me to discuss this at length and defend myself. It's just my opinion, and I'm just a small bean, but not as small as Lucy. That doesn't matter, and it's just a random person on the internet. So if you enjoyed it, I'm super glad for you, and just very sad that I'm not, but at least hopefully this was entertaining, so I'm not reading it for no purpose. And sometimes hate, like, I've not had this like hate read experience since Leah on the Offbeat. And And I genuinely, it's an entertainment in its own. I have started playing Zelda as well, so I can do that whilst I listen, but I do keep dying, so I don't know if this is just gonna enrage me with everything that's happening in the book as well. But I will speak to you in a bit, and yeah, hello, welcome.
I like how little you are.
Is she little? Is she really? Is she small? Is she tiny? I wouldn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. News to me. Ah yes, the go by yourself like a big loser, because everyone that goes to a wedding by themselves is automatically a loser. Very mature, Lucy. Very, very mature. Ah, what a lovely person. Good morning. It'd be better if this didn't exist. So I finished it. I'm just gonna talk to you while I fold my clothes because I need to put like some laundry away, and then on top of that, unpack. Because I'm not one of those people that unpack instantly after they come back, which is not great. I envy those who do, but it is not me.
You're so big. It gets me hot. And you're so tiny. It makes me wonder about all the ways we'll fit together. It's all I've been thinking.
I know it's all you've been thinking about because you keep telling us.
You fit me somehow.
Did you know? So nothing much changed throughout it, to be honest. But you know, the guy is like really sound when your parents have to actually campaign for you to give him a chance or be nice to him. And then also, I'm sorry, phone scene. And I know I've seen some reviewers mention the phone scene, and I was like, sure, I'm sure it's not that bad, because like what they say is just like, oh, he took a phone from her. But the phone scene was so uncomfortable. It was the reddest flag that has ever red flagged. I don't know how she was like, oh, this is somehow hot, and I'm like, this is run away is what it is. I could never let that slide, ever, ever, ever. Is this the worst thing that can be done? Of course not, but it's just bad though. It's just bad. Again, boundary comment. Anyway, and there was a bit where she was talking about her ex. And did you know that her ex was small and somehow that was a bad thing? Which I find it funny because she kind of holds it against him being 5 foot herself. It's such a weird hyperfixation on the height thing. It's just so odd to me. It's just such a weird choice. And she was like, you could never lift me because he wasn't so big and strong like you. He was tiny little man and you're a big strong boy. And then the guy was like, I bet he was a good guy though, because I'm such a bad guy and good guys suck, but everyone's a good guy and I'm a bad guy, and that's a good thing though. Hot. Throughout the whole thing was also this weird preoccupation of her wanting them to be friends, where clearly it's clear to everyone but her that she wants more than that. When she's trying to convince someone or like show them up that this guy is actually a very good, successful dude, even though it was not the profession that someone wanted them to have, and she's like, he's so successful, and her argument for the success is that he's like a finance person, whatever, and then other people have to bring the reports to him, and then they're so scared of him that they have to ask Lucy to pass it on. She's like, on multiple occasions people are so terrified of him, they have to ask me and someone else to pass it along, and they work on these reports so hard, and still Josh manages to find an error, and then those people have to take a stress day off. That's how successful he is. He's so successful, he makes other people mentally unwell, and they have to take a sick day. And that's how you know you're so successful and such a good leader and just a perfect employee and a perfect employer and just a good team person. And I shit you not, there was nothing else said about the position other than like it's a fairly like reasonably high up, and that he makes other people stressed to hell and uncomfortable. So successful, he makes other people uncomfortable. Why is that the bar? Why is that a positive thing? Why are we celebrating, and why did that work? Why did that argument work? It made me anyway. and then to tie it all in a neat little bow, they said the R slur So casually, I did a double take. I went back on the audiobook.
The feeling has never stopped. I've been trying to drag you down with me. In the worst, most ill-conceived, and socially retarded...
Socially what, sorry? Socially what, sorry? That's just so unnecessary. And I was like, surely not. And then I found it in a book. And in the book, it says socially stunned. So they knew. Someone pointed it out. That's a bit maybe unknown, but why would you write that in the first place? And the book is kind of like slightly littered by all of these, you know, like the cleft palate and then the hunchback and warts all over. And then you just throw that in there, like a page before the epilogue, just to complete the book and the feel of this beautiful, beautiful love story. I honestly feel like I've said all I had to say on this finally. I think, you know, in the words of Tyra Banks, it's so bad I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible, so I'm gonna give you a 1. I cannot see this. I didn't run it through Copile. I don't feel like I need to. I do not see any way that it would go more than a 1. It's an easy read, I guess, although the frustration element could add to the not so easy part of that. There's a movie, which I might try and watch, maybe with Patreons for emotional support. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better. Maybe they like fix things, because a lot of it is about like the writing style and the choices, but also the plot and everything, to be honest. We're about to move on because I cannot. Again, super happy if you liked it. I just really, really didn't. Really, 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 really didn't. I really, really didn't. Anyway, the next one is gonna be 5 Survive. I'm gonna start this as I tackle the clothing. Oh, it's so muggy today though. Then I'm gonna have a shower, and then I think we're gonna go and try and get some frames for the kitchen so we can put our unhinged posters on there. Slightly terrified because I've heard mixed things on like 5 Survive as well, but I feel like it might help me getting off the hating game. My bar might be naturally just a little bit lower, so much easier to be appeased. Is what I'm hoping for. Because it really cannot be worse than this, what I just experienced for myself. So yesterday's plan kind of changed a bit because it was just way too warm for me to go to town and try and find the frames. Ironically, we still ended up in town. We're meeting a friend and then going to some Pride events and then going to a gay bar at the end, and it was so packed. It was very fun, but it was extremely packed. Don't you worry though, even though it was, you know, clubbing, we were still in bed by 12 o'clock and just hydrating, so feeling okay today considering, just a little bit tired. But I did get decent progress on to 5 Survive. I did swap fully to physical because I really don't like, I've listened to only 2 chapters. Thankfully it was on script, so I didn't buy it, the audiobook, but I really like, I think the narration is like good, but it's very over the top. Like it's very kind of like they really go into the voices, you know, and it was just it's a bit too silly goofy for me. I wanted to read it myself, so the voices and the dialogue, because it's like very dialogue heavy, and I wanted to read it in the intonation I think real people use. No like shade on the audiobook, but it was a bit too much for me for the audiobook. So I've swapped to physical and it's going pretty well. I know this book has gotten like not the best feedback, but so far I'm really having fun. But I know this could be because the last book was just so not for me, as you know, we've established that. But I am 110 pages in this. It's about 6 friends after their, like, I'm assuming last year of school, because they are talking about university, about them going on a little road trip to meet up with the rest of the school people, I don't know, like spring break or something. And our main character, Red, who has a complicated home life, we keep getting like little snippets from there, but everything is still a little bit unclear. But her mother is dead, and her father has, I want to say, alcohol issues. But so it's her best friend, her best friend's brother, and his girlfriend, and then two other guys. They rented this RV and they're going to their destination and go into the quote-unquote wrong way, and then their RV breaks down. Someone wants something from them. By the title, someone will die at some point because 5 survive, unless it's obviously misleading. But yeah, they get attacked by someone. So I'm just at the point where like the stuff went down. So it's getting really good. I'm quite enjoying. Well, I wouldn't say really good. It's not like blowing my mind, or it's not like, oh, I'm like at the edge of my seat, I must continue reading. But it's also like good. Like, I'm enjoying myself. Even though when I posted on Instagram that I've started, like, this is my next read, I did get quite a few messages being like, oh no, I also really didn't enjoy it like this. But honestly, so far, it's fine. It's pretty much what I was expecting from it. It's nothing, like, the writing style is definitely just easy and simple, but it works for me, and I kind of am totally fine with it. So yeah, that is what I'm doing today. We have Logan's mom's birthday, so we have to go for that, which should have, you know, food and then also high tea. Very fancy. Gonna be fun. And I have 1,000,001 things to do, which I seem to just not be able to force myself to do. So instead, I may just continue reading and ignore all of my responsibilities that are creeping up and the to-do list that just keeps growing. Because that seems like it's gonna be a Futures G issue. Unfortunately, I currently am the future G of my past G, and I'm not impressed by her. So maybe I'll learn from that and actually do something that I'm supposed to do, but it is not seeming likely. So there's that. I do have Zeus here. He's very cute. Wait, how do I... You once more must excuse my exterior. However, I have just finished 5 Survive, and let me tell you, the moment I finished work today, granted I didn't really do that much reading yesterday, I think, but the moment I finished work today, the first thing I did was just open this book, shut the laptop, open the book, and I continued reading until our sprints, which is like now, and I even was late to those, because the intrigue is sky high. I don't know why people dislike it. Well, I do know, for some reasons. As I said, this is like about a bunch of people, teens and some young adult. They get into an RV and get taken to a spa and basically held hostage. And I think the main thing to mention though is that there is one secret that someone is seeking from them, but they don't know who and they don't know what the secret is. And it's so juicy. Everyone has secrets that normal teenagers should definitely not have. I do acknowledge that, but you obviously need that drama. Otherwise, like, what's this about? Is this a literary masterpiece? No. But did I have a lot of fun? Absolutely I did. I was just like, not necessarily at the edge of my seat, but I couldn't put it down. Once again, this author does it to me again. I don't think it's gonna be 5 stars because I'm gonna run it through Copile. It would be not something I probably will remember often, but I just like really needed it. I really needed something somewhat light, somewhat exaggerated, just kind of like fun, you know? Even though it does actually deal with quite a lot of heavy topics, but I also really appreciate our POV being this quite like quiet, not very much like stand up for herself girl, and we get to see everything unfold from her eyes, and it's interesting because it's actually one of the more passive POVs I've ever read from, which is interesting. And also, this book contains a character that I think I found the most frustrating from every literary character that I've ever read about, and that's quite a list. The mendacity, the manitude of this character is something else. I wanted this person to just disappear. Every time he opened his mouth, every time he said something, I just wanted something to stand up to him. Some people did, but just not enough, and I understand why though. But ooh, was it frustrating. And it was meant to be, right? It was meant to be. But I can also understand if it's too much, because it is quite like repetitive for some people. I can understand that being like a bit too annoying, like not enjoyable experience. I get that. And I will say that another part of this book that was maybe not as good is that it was very much prolonged in times that I don't think we needed to. I know we were building tension, and obviously it did work for me, but I will say, I did already mention that after the 2 chapters, I just didn't vibe with the audiobook. I think if I listened to this on audiobook, I genuinely probably would have given it like 3 stars of that, because I think the audiobook is too exaggerated in the dialogue, and this book is like 70% dialogue, which is what I really like in these type of books, because it gets me through them like quickly, and I like that. It was very exaggerated. It was very like almost comic level of performance. It was like a school play, and I, rather not. I wanted to make the characters a little bit more like toned down and more like how real people talk in my mind. So I would, in my opinion, which is just my experience, but I would 100% go into this physically rather than an audiobook. I think it would have genuinely dampened my experience with it if I gone an audiobook route. But I didn't, and because of that as well, I could recognize some of the parts of the book where they started like listing these elaborate ways they're gonna do something, and I just did not need to know all of the details. I really didn't need to know every single step of whatever plan they had cooking up, and then also throughout that plan see every little step. I think that was a little bit of a shortcoming of this book, because they really did need to be stretched out on some of these scenes that they did. However, being that I was reading it physically, I did skip some of the paragraphs because I thought that increased the enjoyment for me in the book. Not often, mind you. I definitely not often, and only the paragraphs that I knew not gonna give me any information that would be vital to continuing the story. I knew what they were doing. I didn't need the detail sometimes. And again, it didn't happen often, but I can also understand this being too like it just stops the inertia, stops the momentum. And I think if you also listen in the audiobook, obviously you can't really do that reliably, but I genuinely was just having such a good time. It was just so dramatic. They had everyone had secrets, and there were some bits that I was definitely being like, but why this? And there was one part that I was also thinking like, how could you not think about that? And by that I still stand by, but I cannot say because it's a spoiler. And but it will be suffering a little bit in logic points as well on Copile. I still think you'll probably get 4 stars because the intrigue is gonna be like very high in enjoyment as well. So I think it will probably still get 4 stars, but it will definitely not be a 5-star read, but enjoyment-wise, loved it. I enjoyed the dynamics as well. It was interesting to see. I did have a little bit of a hard time telling them apart in the audiobook, but once I saw it physical, it was completely fine. And it was so quick to me. Like, I read this in like 3 days, right? And that's like very quick to me, especially in physical format, because that gives me plenty of opportunity to like stop and do something else, which I do very often. My brain is 15 miles an hour, if you know, you know. It's just, don't get me right. It was a very, very, very fun time for me, and I'm very glad I picked it up. I know that this one was almost overwhelmingly like 3 stars and not the best from people that I know and heard from, and a lot of my Patreons as well. Some did like it. So I do think this is a very polarizing one. It very depends, I think. So I can't like positively say like, read this, you'll love it. I just don't know. I really don't know. Like, there's some books that I'm way more confident in recommending, but if you are very similar to me, you might like it. And also, I probably did, you know, enjoy it more because it piggybacked off like the worst book that I've read this year. So, you know, I'm very happy. And the next on the list is actually Amina. So Hello, welcome to the update. That's not really an update, but I do think that after a couple of days, because a couple of days have passed now, I have been completely consumed. Slight depression, question mark, but also Cult of the Lamb. That is like drugs. Like I could, like yesterday, the whole evening, I had so many things to do, but I just couldn't put it down. And that was my whole evening. Just Cult of the Lamb. It's so good. I'm not even, well, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm not sad about that. But yeah, I think this is not gonna be like something that I remember a lot. It's already fading, but I just had a lot of good, like, I had a good time reading it, and it did what it needed to do. So maybe I've overhyped it in the last clip because I was just out of it and I was high on like I must know what's happening. I don't think it's gonna have that kind of value in general, but I did have a very good time, so I still stand by that. I am currently not far at all, just here in The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. So only like 40 pages in. I, again, was not reading in the last update. But here we are. It's fine. I don't have a lot of time to like actually catch up, but I must because I have a live stream, so we'll get there, but I'm not there yet. Hello, it is technically the like past end of June, but we are in denial. It's the 1st of July, so it's fine. I have to hold you because I genuinely don't have a spot for my tripod because I've gotten into a mighty need to set up bullet journal again. So I'm on my bullet journaling nonsense once again. It's been a while since I've done that. You might remember some of my videos, but I'm gonna blame TikTok on this, and I probably will start a TikTok page just because I just got so like a need for that accountability, and also I'm just obsessed with those videos of other people, and I thought it would be fun when they just like fill in their trackers every day. There's literally nothing else happens. It's the least informative and the most like oversharing because like why? But I'm hooked and I got an itch. Anyway, so look at this mess. It's literally I've set everything up here so I don't have to. And I was like, this is ridiculous. It's extremely just messy. But I'm like, until I'm finished setting this up, I'm just not going to move it because I don't have like a neat place to put this in. It's all chaos. This is how it's kind of going. I'll show you more in like a separate video, but can't really see it properly, can you? But I'm very excited. But I just really need to set it up because I want to start it in like today. So, but on a crunch with a lot of things, but including the Mooney book club read, which is obviously this, I've spoken about it a little bit, but now I am a little bit actually over halfway through, so making progress. I have to push. The whole story premise is that this is about a retired and kind of like hiding pirate woman in her, I want to say like 40s, which is so refreshing to see. I wish more fantasy books would feature a woman not in her 20s as the main character. I don't know, I just feel like it's not an overwhelming amount that's like a solo POV as well. That's not just like one of the POVs, and I love her. I really like her. Anyway, someone finds her and comes looking for her, dredging some past loss that she had of one of her crewmates that apparently had a daughter who's gone missing, and now but it's not the guilt really, it's the money reward of an incredible amount of money offered that gets her out of it again, although somewhere deep down she really wanted to go back to the adventure, but she has her own daughter and that she wants to set her up for a comfortable life, but is also obviously wanting to come back to her alive and well, and it's all gone badly from there. This was not a good decision. So we're going through the motions, and there's demons as well, which is fun. So far so good. I'm really enjoying. Struggled a little bit at the beginning, but not for very long at all, so not a biggie. And just cute. And there's a cat on board. Granted, it's not that important, but it is cute. We have gone to IKEA and we've done some damage with this plant. But most importantly though, monkey. This is a pot for the, it's not supposed to be stuck in there. It has Velcro hands, so it's gonna be around the plant for the most part. And I got these for the seats because they're mighty hard. Oh, look at that.
What?
The size.
Oh.
It's all right. Didn't realize they come in different sizes. That's my bad. And we have some frames for some prints that we needed to hang for a while. It was a little bit hard to get the correct size because I don't think the prints are in like standard what we have here. So we might have to work around a couple of bits. But hello, Zeus. So, I wanted to check in a little bit on how the reading is going. I am not too far from finishing it. I think I have like 2 hours worth of reading. I wonder now, I thought that this was a standalone, but it might be the way that it's going, it could be a series, so I need to check my facts there. I do think that it's a very fun read if you like a found family type of situation, also real family as well, and outcasts and people who feel misunderstood coming together and having each other's back. It's very wholesome in that way, but it's also quite sassy as well, which I thoroughly enjoy. I think the dynamic and the dialogue is definitely the strong suit of this book. So it must be like a 4-star. I'm enjoying it more than I like The City of Brass. So if I had to pick one book to start with, I would pick this one, but maybe that's to do with the character ages. In the book, I just find it so refreshing that we finally have, because I do think that in high fantasy or adult fantasy, we do often have a character that's in their 40s or 50s. It's so often a male one, and it's just nice to see a woman for once, and it's like with all of the things. And I also just enjoyed that we actually, because it's a pirate that's now retired, right? We actually do mention quite a bit like the body aches and how it compares to when she was younger, and how time did have an impact, because a lot of the time I feel like we don't get like the backache or the knee pain mentioned in a book, even if the character is a little bit older, which I'm only 30 and I have to huff and puff when I stand up now. Well, maybe I'm not the best specimen for this comment, seeing of all of my health issues, but still, right? I know other people who are in their 30s and healthier than me and still have like the aches and pains, like it's like clockwork. It's a meme for a reason, like you turn 30 and everything breaks. So it's just nice seeing that mentioned, that even though like, you know, the characters are obviously extraordinary in one way to be the main character on another, but it's still nice that it's actually not just like mentioned and then the age ends by the fact that they have children, which is what I kind of usually find in books. It's, yeah, they're older, but the only feature that they carry from that age is like some wisdom and kids. It's nice to just have a little bit of that, a reminder of the age in little bits like that. I think my current plan is to go and actually tidy the place up, because I really need all of this planning stuff out. I did decide to empty the chest that I have and put that other stuff somewhere else and dedicate this chest to all of my planning stuff, because it is just scattered throughout everywhere and I don't like that. So I'm gonna put the pens that I will be using like daily with the journal in like a separate pouch, but then all of the other stuff that I normally just pick out when I'm setting stuff up, I'll put in that chest, and hopefully it actually fits, and then I have like one dedicated thing. And it's also pretty cool because it's a chest, very on theme with pirates. So I'm gonna go do that and then probably play a little bit, because I just want to relax. I feel like I've been working quite a lot today, and we've gone to IKEA and gotten the frames, and that like took energy.
No, no, other way from the zip line. See you coming back up the zip line. That zip line acts mostly just as a marker of how to get back when we're running.
I am so close to finishing the book. However, I'm still really enjoying it, but I think this would have been such a great candidate for like score of 10 on Copile. Unfortunately, this book is another victim of a and yet syndrome. If you don't know what and yet syndrome is, it's a book that just overuses and yet ... It's one of my least favorite things. I don't know why, it just bugs me so much. And the biggest offender of that is Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. However, this one it's not too, I mean, it's not as bad. I've not found one that is as bad as Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for that, but this one's not great on that either. So other than that though, it's going great. I've played the game of my tidying quest, which I don't think I've actually spoken about yet. So you'll see, I'm uploading a little bullet journal video. Just looking for scissors, I don't know if I actually have them. Currently tidying away the books, and I have some that I've not opened yet. So I have 2 boxes of The Broken Binding and 1 box of Fairy Loot. This is very cute, very, very cute. If it was Christmas time, I would just pop that under the Christmas tree. Oh, wait. I need to quickly open the other one, because, oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize they're sending the whole trilogy. I clearly just don't pay enough attention, which is my bad. But this is the book that I've gotten from them before. And what I got just now is the 3rd and the 2nd. That's why I opened the other one, because this one was the 3rd. At first I thought it was a duplicate because I looked at it and was like, I remember getting this. Number 3 on the spine and also number 2 on the other one. So both of those boxes were for the series. And this is how the series look like. The edges are so beautiful. Oh my god. And they also have bookmarks, which I'm a big fan of. So this is the design of the first one. I can't remember if I've shown you. Beautiful. I'll just read the synopsis of the first one, obviously the trilogy, don't want to read the 2nd and 3rd. 2 nations at war, a prize beyond compare. For generations, the 100 Isles have built their ships from the bones of ancient dragons to fight an endless war. The dragons disappeared, but the battles for supremacy persisted. Now the first dragon in centuries has been spotted in far-off waters, and both sides see a chance to shift the balance of power in their favor. Because whoever catches it will not only... This is the end paper... I love how like epic these are. And this is under the jacket. I somehow missed that they're gonna do the whole trilogy as their monthlies one. It's an interesting choice. I don't know how I feel about it, because like, what if you're not a fan of the first book and then 3 months, unless I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. I need to get like a hold of what I'm doing with the subscription, but on the other hand, obviously, if you do love it, then that's great. These are beautiful. They're stunning editions. I really like them. If you've read this series, please let me know. I feel like I don't really know that much of it. But clearly currently on a sea adventure kick, so maybe this is good timing for that. And then for the Fairy Loot, which is Shanghai Immortal with this beautiful, beautiful cover. And we also have this end paper art, this PLC design all over, this end paper art. A half vampire, half fox spirit who lives as a servant of the King of Hell. The story is a journey through hell and mortal Shanghai as she tries to solve the mystery of her heritage. So, sounds pretty fun. And of course the end papers, I think I forgot to show you the end papers. Here they are. And we also have a little character print with it. So now that I've unboxed this, I'm gonna go and put it away. I'm kind of crouching on the account that I'm too lazy to up my tripod. Anyway, I have finished the last book for June, which is great because it is already July, but we're not gonna talk about that. And I've also just had the live stream for this book, so I've just spent a whole hour talking about it. So I'm gonna try to summarize my final feelings in a much more shorter, concise way, because obviously this is not a dedicated video, but overall I absolutely loved it because it has so many like nice themes, and I just can't express it enough how nice it is to see a slightly older woman main character in a high fantasy. I love the friendships. I love how we handle the dynamic between friends coming back together after a long time. I think reuniting old crews is one of my favorite tropes or devices, I guess. It's a trope, right? If you're looking for something similar, if you really enjoy this and you're looking for something along the similar vibes of, you know, a retired crew having to come back together for one last adventure, Kings of the Wilds might be your kind of book as well. I thoroughly enjoyed the writing style. I was so surprised by it because I didn't dislike the writing style in the City of Brass, but it was nowhere near this level. I think the skill of the author has improved significantly since then. I will say, after reading this book, I did check, it is not a standalone. I don't know why I was so adamant that it is. I was just so convinced for no reason, but it's not. So I'm excited for the next one. I will definitely be reading it. I probably will not continue with Daevabad after this though, because I don't think that I can go back after reading this, because the writing style is just so much better. The humor is what carried this book, I think. It's just so not forced. It felt really good. The shortcoming for me and why it wasn't a 5-star is that I did struggle a little bit with my intrigue, which is so surprising because all the other elements I love, but I will say that the pacing of the book was not particularly consistent. It is almost split in like a couple of sections of, you know, quite slow, and I actually prefer those bits because we do focus on like characters more, and you know that's my jam. And then we quickly go into a lot of consecutive kind of action adventure scenes, which I really can't fault the book that has adventure in the actual title. So I understand that I knew what I signed up for. But even then, I still struggled because my mind just doesn't stay focused during prolonged action scenes. I just start wondering. I always struggled with this, and it's not something new to me. And I think because it then takes me a little while to realize, oh, the action's over, let's focus again, and then I lose kind of inertia of the story, and it does become a little bit hard for me to want to pick it back up if I stop in the middle of action. And the second half in particular was very action full. It was just like one encounter after another, and it was different settings as well. So it was just a lot, and not my favorite way of experiencing a story, I guess. But I cannot recommend it. Like overall, I know I'm saying all this, but overall I still really enjoyed it. It's just a really odd one because I never had intrigue be low when everything else is pretty much a very high score. This is a first. It is a first. If you've not read this book and you want to, and you also like audiobooks, I cannot recommend it enough. I did read a good portion of this physically with an audiobook on as well, but majority of it was just an audiobook, and the narration for this is just absolutely beautiful. I think it really adds to the story, and it is just extremely well done. It's one of the best audiobooks, I think. It's just really, really good. So would hands down recommend that. Very easy recommendation. And with that, I actually wrap up everything that I needed to read for June and my vlog. But I also, before I leave, I also want to do the video shoutouts for my Patreons that I genuinely can't tell which month I started failing at doing these. So if I repeat yours and I've already mentioned you, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to give a warm welcome, and especially to some of you who already have been here for a while. I'm really sorry. Time got away from me. It really did. Thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoyed the Patreon Mooney space. To Salem, Catherine, Kaylee, Winter, Jordan, Denisha, Alexandra, Elizabeth, Kyla, Maria, Hilder, Charlotte, Cassidy, and Dominica. Thank you so much. Your support honestly means the world, and I'm always so excited to hang out with everyone there and just be my most unhinged goblin. So thank you, and I hope everyone enjoyed the vlog. I am kind of sorry that it was so ranty at the very beginning, but I clearly had emotions and it needed to be out. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was entertaining, if anything. Stay awesome, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.